Open the meeting, please, if everyone could please stand. And if you could, please say the Pledge of Allegiance with me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Please have a roll call, please.
Mayor Marciano?
Here.
Vice Mayor Litt? Here. Councilmember Marino? Here. Councilmember Woods?
Here, ma'am.
Councilmember Lane?
Here. Thank you. Are there any additions, deletions, or modifications to the agenda?
No, sir.
Thank you. Are there any announcements or presentations tonight?
No.
Thank you. Let's get to items of resident interest in board and committee reports. I'll start with Rochelle.
Okay, so, excuse me? It's a busy month. So the month of October started with Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and my month started with the Hattie McDaniel Breast Cancer Awareness and Women's Wellness Breakfast. I welcomed them to the DoubleTree in Palm Beach Gardens. There was the Green Market, an AFL-CIO labor picnic, the League of Cities membership meeting, Forum Club with former Brigadier General Robert Spalding, a Moms Demand Action meeting with Deputy Chief Pape talking about the red flag laws. Thank you so much for being there. I chaired the Sustainability Subcommittee of the Palm Beach North Chamber. There was PGA Carter Association breakfast with Natalie Crowley. Go Natalie. She really put some of our people on the spot. Economic Forum Luncheon. I met with the teens from Oxbridge High School with Charlotte and Daniel about a senior project that they're doing. There was a Lewis Center for the Homeless, the luncheon follow-up meeting, a Leadership Palm Beach County Breakthroughs Program planning meeting, resident photography awards at City Hall, and all of the photos are still up on the walls out there. They are amazing. A community partners event at PGA Commons, Economic Development Committee meeting discussing the Palm Beach North Chamber's Smart and Connected Region, 211 Helpline Awareness and Fundraising Luncheon. I spoke to the Suits for Seniors group at Palm Beach Gardens High School. Tay is doing a great job with support from our Firefighters Foundation with these young people. And I got to talk to them. It was career day. I spent some time with my son in California, which was a nice break. We attended the Ladies 9 and Wine golf event that was part of the Mayor's Golf Tournament, and then there was the Mayor's Golf Tournament last Saturday. This morning, I participated with the rest of the council and some of our staff and chiefs in the Literacy Coalition's Read for the Record at the city's Riverside Daycare Center, where I got to read to the 4- and 5-year-olds. And I spent the last 2 days in Tallahassee with Komen Florida Advocacy Task Force, lobbying our legislators for life-saving diagnostic coverage through insurance companies and cancer treatment that will save the lives of women and men with breast cancer, which 1 of every 8 of us will be diagnosed with in our lifetime, and 8 Floridians will die every day from. So the Race for the Cure is on January 25th. Form a team, join a team, sign up, run or walk with us on January 25th.
Matthew.
Okay, I'm going to begin by thanking Deputy Manager and acknowledge Deputy City Manager Steve Stepp. A very prominent member of the community came to me with a significant concern. I called Steve at 3 o'clock on a Friday afternoon, and it was taken care of by 5 o'clock on a Friday afternoon. Wonderful follow-up, excellent work. I know I'm not the only one who's impressed, because at the NCNC, I heard Mayor Marciano also make a shout out for the excellent constituent service that you provide. So all kudos to you. I attended multiple green markets, as did we all. The Lord's Place grand opening, the Chamber Government Affairs Committee, the PGA Quarter Association breakfast, the Police Foundation luncheon was very well done. The NCNC, the Gardens Hospital operating room, where they showed us how the Da Vinci works, the Palm Beach North Foundation kickoff, the Fall Festival, but the highlight, of course, of the whole month was today when we read for the record to the kids. Carl and I had this comedy routine going. The next showing will be at 11 o'clock, a 2-drink minimum, and we had a good time.
Maria?
I need a breath for this one. It's been a really long month. There was a lot going on, and a lot of it is important. A lot of it is we need to be in places. So in no order whatsoever, as Matthew said, we've all been to the Green Market. We had a wonderful Green Market opening. As Rochelle said, Forum Club luncheon with Robert Spalding, and what was important about that was his perspective against China's influence on the United States. And so the mission of the Forum Club is really to be thought-provoking, and I think they did that with this meeting. The annual Professional Women's Networking event at the Norton, which featured a local female SWAT team member. And on the same day, I actually played in the Legal Aid Society golf tournament to benefit the Legal Aid Society and the NW Runner Tutorial Golf Tournament, which was a lot of fun, and it's always great to be out on the golf course with people and raising money for good causes. The TPA, the Transportation Planning Agency, which I now chair, we had half a dozen meetings this month. The most important takeaway from that is that the county has amended their long-range transportation plan, and it will affect cities, and there are things in the plan that cities may not want and cities may want. We were not able to come to a decision at our meeting, and I'd like to thank Carl for attending. He's the alternate for the TPA, and he was there. The meeting was held here. And so I've reached out to a lot of the local city managers and politicians to make sure that they read the county's long-range transportation plan, because just as an addition, they've decided to throw the Marcinski Bridge back into the mix at a cost of $55 million, and no one in Jupiter wants the Marcinski Bridge. So it is up to us to do our homework, and that is one of the things that has taken up a lot of time this month. PGA Corridor Breakfast, Economic Forum, interesting Economic Forum because it featured the new owners of the Wellington Mall, who are actually going to put in a Crystal Lagoon. So Avenir is doing something that other people want to do also. It's a very interesting perspective. Place of Hope, I was actually a celebrity bartender, but you've got to love Place of Hope. They are one of the top agencies, and they do so much phenomenal good work for the kids that really fall through the cracks and are left out of the system. So anything you can do for Place of Hope, that would be great. The Johnny Bench Golf Tournament to benefit the Believers Academy. Ron, thank you for coming out that day. Several of us did the Palm Beach Gardens Youth Athletic Association pitch for the Cure softball event. As Matthew said, we did the Police and Fire Foundation Golf Tournament and the NCNC meeting, League of Cities Board meeting, 211 Helpline Luncheon. We had a reception. There was a reception for the new sports complex at District Park. A lot of people there, a lot of buzz, a lot of excitement. Interesting meeting of the joint meeting of the Treasure Coast Regional Planning Council and the South Florida Regional Planning Council. A presentation was done by both Brightline and Tri-Rail, and there was also an affordable housing presentation. Why I bring that up is because it showed that the average buyout amount for an affordable housing unit is roughly $42,000. So when we had people come to us at City Hall when Avenir was buying out of the units, their buyout was roughly $42,000. So we were right on the money when we came up with a buyout price. And I don't mean buyout as in they're getting away with nothing. It's costing them $10 million. I mean, that $10 million is going to be spent here in the city, and that's why we hired an affordable housing consultant to figure out how we best spend that money in the city wisely. The 11th Annual Go Blue Awards for the Loggerhead Marine Life, Fall Festival at District Park, and I actually went to my first ever Diwali event presented by the Palm Beach Indian Association, Forum Club Luncheon, Firefighters Breakfast, sponsored by the Chamber of Commerce of the Palm Beaches, Just last week, WGI held a mobility breakfast, which was great because everything that we're working on for the Smart and Connected Regions Task Force was really apparent during this breakfast, and WGI is now going to partner with Palm Beach North to continue the efforts that the Smart and Connected Regions Task Force has done, and to continue the efforts in really going out there and finding some grant money so that we can deliver what was established, which one of the things that's important about that is a dashboard on how to connect employees, employers, affordable housing, mobility. So it's a very important project, and we get to keep going with it, which is great. Student ACES had a ribbon cutting in Belle Glade, and many thanks to the Bank of America for donating a bank building that was vacant for quite a while. They've turned this building into a facility for kids in the Glades to have an after-school program and with sports and education. And Student ACES is a wonderful program here locally, and they also actually have expanded, and I think they've helped over 2,500 kids. As Rochelle said, we had the ladies' wine and dine at Sand Hill Crane. I stood on, I can't remember which hole it was, for Beat the Pro and raised some extra money for our veterans. And then did the same thing the next day at the Mayor's Cup, stood on the 14th hole and raised some money for our veterans. I think we raised over 700 just from the Beat the Pro, so that was a lot of fun. The Habitat for Humanity's Gala, Palm Beach County League of Cities District 1 luncheon yesterday, which was great because I was able to share with all of the other mayors and representatives that were there about the long-range transportation plan. So they went back to their city managers, and that ball is rolling, which is important. This morning, I went to I missed Read for the Record, which I was really upset about, but Discover the Palm Beach has had a presentation this morning, and they're partnering with all of the cities to really get a better understanding of tourism in our region. And whereas a lot of other regions do it just by one city, we're actually a county. We're a very large county. So Discover the Palm Beaches has their hands full, and they do need input from each of the cities, and that's why we were there. And when they say that the city of Palm Beach Gardens needs 600 new hotel rooms in the future, and we need convention space, but we also need mobility to get people around to these places, and we need to be able to walk from a hotel to a restaurant to a convention center. It's very important. They talked about how it was an interesting topic, how the inventory of affordable housing might be depleted a little bit because of Airbnb, because of investors buying these inexpensive properties and then renting them out on Airbnb. That's a topic that has fueled a lot of fire, the Airbnb topic, because it's hard to regulate and make sure they pay their bed tax dollars, because if they don't pay their bed tax dollars, Discover the Palm Beaches and other agencies that, tourism is such a major part of our economy, they lose bed tax dollars, which means they lose money to be able to show how favorable tourism is in our city, our county, and in our state. And with that, I'm going to sign off.
Everybody got that? Go ahead, Carl.
Well, you guys know I like to keep mine short. You can tell we come out of summer and we head towards winter, and the last couple months have been really busy. So the only thing different, other than we were a lot of places together this month, is I went to the workshop for Brightline Virgin with Jupiter, because I was interested on how they're going to resolve the problem of getting the train over the Intercoastal by Riverside Drive. So what I did learn is that it seems like Brightline Virgin is pretty much funded all the way to Orlando. So we're going to see a lot of track coming into town. We're going to see a lot of infrastructure being going on the railroad tracks. From what I understand, they're going to need to basically pull up a lot of the track, because believe it or not, there's a lot of fiber optics underneath the track that they need to repair, replace, upgrade, and then they're going to start laying the new track, so it's going to come faster than we think. And they're actually going to have two tracks going over the Intercoastal by Alton and A1A. I'm sure you all know where it is, Alton and A1A and Riverside Drive. So they are going to have two tracks there. They've resolved that, and other than everything else we all did, I thought that was the only interesting thing that I did all month, because I wanted to see how because Virgin's coming. So once you start seeing tracks stack up, they're going to start laying it soon. So other than that, I'll just leave it to you, Mark.
So we got the hardest working council in the county, I think. Started with the Cross Ministries 5K, Green Market opening, Lord's Place grand opening with Matthew, MDA meeting, we was discussing the red flag laws. Had some discussions about Discover the Palm Beaches and the hotel needs and tourism in North County. Suits for Seniors, great program at Dwyer. So you're at Gardens, I was at Dwyer, which was great. Government Affairs meeting with the Chamber, PGA Corridor Association breakfast, and Economic Forum lunch. Wellington Hotel, the mall was an interesting discussion there. Pitch for the Cure, NCNC, the resident photo contest, which was really well done. So next year we need more pictures from more people, but they were fantastic. Palm Beach North Economic Development Committee discussing Lake Park's proposed renovations and changes. Thanks to Maria for reestablishing the coffee with the mayor. Had a nice discussion. A lot of talk about the main things, and this is from our residents. It was an open forum, and it was well done, and we're trying to encourage more people next year to come as well. We like to hear from people. Traffic, growth, Western development, workforce housing, all of these things that we hear about. This was the common thread, and that was the common discussion. And it's good to hear that because we are your representation to the city and to the region, and the more we hear from you, the better. Of course, being at the Green Market multiple times, one of the good and bad about asking people to get a petition signed to get you on a ballot is that you hear their good and bad. Even though they always start with, wow, I love Palm Beach Gardens, there's always a but, and that but was something. So I've presented a lot of these buts to the city manager over the past couple of weeks, and also to the deputy city manager for their comments. Did a tour of the Gardens Library again. I haven't been in there since my kids were little, so it's always fun to go there, and I'd encourage everybody to go back to the library. A lot of good things happening there. Palm Beach North Athletic Foundation, that's a big, they're really pushing now to get that funded, and we're trying to help them as best we can. Of course, the Fall Festival, there was estimated, 5,000 people, which was absolutely amazing. It rained a little bit during the day. We weren't sure it was going to be able to pull it off, but I think everyone was pretty excited to get their kids out of the house for a few hours, and wow, what a great turnout. Another kudos to the city and staff for putting on a great event. I went to my own POA meeting. I haven't done that in a while. The Homeless Coalition event. The Mayor's Golf Tournament. Congratulations to the city attorney for bringing his ringers next year. I'm bringing my own ringers. We're gonna knock you off the pedestal next year. That's my goal. Yeah, I won't bring colored shirts though. Yeah, right. Career Source conference call this morning. Read for the record. And I got my thank you. So one of the benefits of doing the fourth graders, other than they like to talk a lot, is they actually know how to write their names and give a thank you. So I don't know if anyone of you guys got a thank you, but I got a thank you. So
Matt and I got stuck with the one-year-olds.
that's what happens when you get the one-year-olds.
We got drool and boogers.
And
That was just us. The kids complained.
and lastly, I went to I went to the Discovery Village. That's one of those facilities that we just seem to drive by over on Jog Road. It was fantastic. I met with Martin Katz, who's the executive director of the facility, and he wanted us to mention that they're doing a variety show next Thursday in honor of the Honor Flight. It's going to be a variety show from 3:30 to 7:30. It's open to the public. If any of you are ever thinking about where you're going to go when you're older, or if you have an older family member that is looking to relocate into some type of assisted living facility or independent, right? It was a beautiful facility, great tour. I'm going to go at 3:30. I encourage some of our council to show up we know we have something else that evening, but it's always good to see some of the different places in the city that sometimes we just drive by and not really think about. It's a busy night. Well, until January 2nd, I think we're going to be pretty busy as a whole, as individuals and as a council. So thank you all for all of your participation. It's not just what happens in the borders of our city, but we always like to talk about how Palm Beach Gardens is represented county-wide and especially in North County. So thank you all for doing all of what you do for the city and for me, because I can't be everywhere and you guys do. So with that, we're going to end and we're going to move into comments for the public. I do have a few cards. I'm going to read your name. When I read your name, please come up to the podium, speak into the microphone, name and address for the record. And if I don't say your name properly, I just can't read your writing. But first off, Peter Evans.
Peter Evans, representing the Palm Beach Children's Chorus at 4076 PGA Boulevard. at the old Lomans Plaza. We've been in there for the last couple of years. I've been in here before representing the previous tenants to get permission to be in there. Since then, I have joined with the Palm Beach Children's Chorus to promote what we were doing in the theatre for children. Less than 3 weeks ago, we got an eviction notice from Drury, the new landlords of the building, and we've had to look for other premises to find, but it is with a lot of problems that I think will come up for the city because of the way Drury comes into a city. And I was forward a newspaper article with Drury's demolition by neglect. They evicted us because there's a code compliance issue with water that's seeping under the building in great quantities. We were flooding for a number of weeks. We were using pumps inside until we worked out how to keep the water out of the building. When I first moved into the building a number of years ago, the two main theatres were underwater. There was 5 foot of water in there which had to be pumped out. We believe that once we leave, the pumps will be turned off because you've got a code compliance against them for the water running down the parking lot. And they haven't fixed that. They've had engineers. We've advised them how to fix it, but they won't do anything. So I believe that after reading this article, Drury's demolition by neglect, I think that's what's going to happen to the building. And it brings up a number of health issues, because if 5 foot of water goes back into those theatres, you're going to have waterborne diseases, mosquitoes, you name it, coming out of that building. And I don't believe that the city should have to have that problem, even though we're looking for a new premises, because we know that they're going to look at building something there eventually. We're trying to find another location now. And we have been invited to sing in Carnegie Hall next year, representing Palm Beach County again. We did that 2 years ago, and so this is something that we want to keep to the fore of the city.
Thank you for your comments.
I'll submit these.
Please, to the city clerk, please. Next, Ed Dolezal. Name and address for the record, please.
Good evening. My name is Ed Dolezal. I'm at 4905 Midtown Lane in Palm Beach Gardens. The subject this evening is about 5G technology. So good evening, Mayor, council members, and staff. Thank you for this opportunity to voice our concerns about 5G technology. So why are we concerned about it? There's basically 4 reasons. It affects health and human safety. Number 2, personal privacy. Number 3, aesthetics of the community. Number 4, local sovereignty. So number 1, no one can prove that 5G technology is safe. Current technology, which is 4G and below, uses 1 to 5 gigahertz of frequency range, while 5G is probably going to use between 24 and 90 gigahertz. That's quite a significant increase, and potentially could be very harmful. Already anecdotally, in places where it's been installed, birds have fallen out of the sky, bees have been killed. It's pretty crazy stuff. Also, the World Health Organization classifies 5G technology as a Class 2B as in Bravo carcinogen. In referring to 5G, with regard to privacy, General Petraeus, who's a past CIA director, stated that these technologies could lead to near continuous persistent monitoring of virtually anywhere we choose, which means it would be like us wearing a ankle monitor, and nobody likes that. That's, of course, if you're using a cell phone, a smartphone, right? So there's some issues there. As far as the local sovereignty is concerned, Tallahassee has definitely overridden local sovereignty with regard to this rollout, and particularly, there was this bill that was passed in 2017. And basically, it took away the prerogative of controlling any permitting and so on that relates to this implementation. So, what can you do about it? If you don't have a right to refuse this, you can join a lawsuit that has been initiated by the League of Cities in Florida against Tallahassee about this overreach. Also, I'm not sure whether you're aware of it, but Palm Beach has been exempted from the rollout. Interesting. And there's also legal precedent from the research that I've done that really overrides any kind of statutes or bills that have been put into place. So, time's up.
Thank you. Thank you very much for your
But we're
presentation.
willing to work with you all to find some kind of solution. This is very important stuff.
I appreciate it. Thank you very much. Next, Sanford Pearl. Name and address for the record, please.
Sanford Pearl, 9968 Dahlia, Palm Beach Gardens. I wanted to talk to you about streetlights on Holly. But it's not just Holly. There's a lot of them out. And they're out they were out when our elementary school kids were going to and from school during the day with no streetlights on Holly from Dahlia to Military Trail. None. Including the infamous intersection of Plant and Holly. So our kids, they have a crossing guard there. Crossing guard does wonderful things, but if you can't see the people coming because it's dark, you got a problem. Now, daylight saving times is gone, and we're on standard time now. So that issue is pretty much gone until next time. But the streetlights out, I've been out at Holly for at least 6 months. And I understand that FP&L isn't at fault in the original damage, but they haven't gotten the job done to fix it yet. And I don't want to be in a squabbling contest between them and whoever caused the damage to get it done, because our kids are at risk. I have a neighbor, and his daughter goes to, I think it's G-Star School. She has to get on the bus at 6:20 in the morning. It's still a little dark there, even now. And the bottom line is you can't see her. So it's a safety hazard for our kids, and we need to apply whatever pressure we can to the powers that be in the company that owns the hardware and isn't maintaining it. And I know they have a major problem, but it's not being fixed, and it's been a problem since May. Thank you. I do appreciate whatever else you can do for me.
Thank you. There was a report, the Deputy City Manager, Steve Stepp, had researched into this and has something to, has more information and more details about it. Perhaps if, Deputy Stepp, if you could speak with the gentleman and go over some of the details, I'd appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you for your comment, because you're right. And lastly, Steve Matheson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. Briefly, I am here tonight on behalf of the PGA Corridor Association Board of Directors. We would like to thank you all for your continued partnership with us in creating and implementing a vision for this city for this next century. Obviously, you guys are the hardest working council in Palm Beach County or South Florida. I would say your staff is also the hardest working staff. Every day we deal with issues together that take time and take focus and take professionalism. And on behalf of my board, I'd like to thank you for every single moment and every single idea that you share together. Most recently, we have sponsored and been deeply involved in your mobility study, which we believe is the future of this city. And we were very proud of Natalie as our growth management director in chairing, conducting, and whooping the entire PGA corridor update into shape. It was a great program. It was sold out, and we believe it shows a great potential and a great future for our city. So thank you once again.
Thank you. Well, to build a great city, you have to have great partners. And the PGA Corridor Association's always been a good ear to help gauge some interest in different programs. So that's all the cards I have. The city manager, do you have a report?
Just a comment. Janice Matthey and my staff has been working with FP&L since we got an original complaint from a Mrs. Beckman on the issue that Sandy Pearl brought up since October the 22nd. And according to the latest that we received from them, whether it's true or not, FPL says there's 2 locations that have been identified that needs to be reworked. Other than that, that strip between Military and I-95 on Holly, according to FP&L, has been corrected. The only other thing that I would mention is that if Natalie is such a great draw for the PGA Corridor Association, maybe we should share a little bit in the proceeds. Where'd Steve go? He disappeared real quick. Just kidding, Steve.
Thank you, and I think that's an important, well, Natalie always does a wonderful job, but I think the lighting on Holly Drive is a sensitive subject to a lot of people that we know, and I know the city staff is working very hard with FP&L to try to figure out how to hurry up and get that back on, and I know it's not FP&L's fault, but anyway, the city staff will continue to work on that. Moving on, we're going to go to the consent agenda. Can I get a motion in a second to approve
I'm going to pull items C and G.
C and G? Can I get a motion in a second to approve the consent agenda minus items C and G?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
Okay, can the clerk please read? So purchase award item C, the renovation of baseball fields at Gardens Park. Right. So, all right. So is there any discussion about the rest of the consent agenda? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, thank you. So item C on the consent agenda. There's nothing to read. Is there a presentation?
You know, I could expedite it. I could just ask my question, and then we could vote on it.
However you'd like to. Sure.
Yeah.
If you pulled it, go ahead and take the lead and see what you'd like to do.
Kumar, I'm going to ask you a 5-part question. You already know what the questions are. In the interest of time, I'm going to ask you this one. It's one question with 5 parts. Who bid on the contract? What criterion did you utilize in selecting the vendor? Why did this vendor prevail over other vendors? Were they the lowest bidder, which I believe in fact, I know they were. And those are my questions.
Good evening, City Council. For the record, Kumbra, Purchasing and Contracts Director, and with me is Corey Wilder, our Director of Public Services. To respond to Councilmember Lane's questions, this is an invitation to bid for the renovation of baseball fields at Gardens Park. We got 3 bids from Briggs Golf Construction, LGG Sports Turf 1, and T-Mac Wilder and Associates. And the lowest bid came from Briggs Golf Construction. Because the bid, that's the vendor we have to select, because that was the vendor who was responsive and responsible and offered us the lowest price. As with all our agreements and our solicitations, we did responsibility reviews of all the vendors, and Briggs Golf Construction is a responsible vendor. They were founded in 1992. They've done work at Boca Rio, Ibis Club, Breakers, St. Andrews Club. These are not new people to the game. They are well-recommended vendors. Any other questions?
Matthew, any questions?
Yeah, I'm good.
Anybody have any questions? No. So can I get a motion in a second to approve item C on the consent? Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, thank you. Item G, this is Resolution 73, selecting a date for the January meeting.
Excuse me, Mr. Mayor and Councilman Lane. The item you wish to pull, unfortunately, it was on the old agenda,
Okay.
and it just got approved. And because of the change in the agenda that came out this week, the numbers changed. I mean, the letters changed.
Okay, I reviewed it on Friday. They changed the,
Yes, I didn't catch that, and neither did anyone else. So,
Well, for proper record keeping, we have to have a discussion on motion and a second to approve Resolution 73. January 9th is the proposed date for the January meeting.
yeah, second.
All in favor?
Aye.
One thing I would like to do, and I'd like to make this kind of a quick thing, but have the Vice Mayor just read the proclamations for the month, just because people ask us to put them on the agenda, and it's nice just to at least acknowledge them.
Our proclamations this month: Hunger and Homeless Awareness Week, National GIS Day, and GIS is Geography Information System Day. World AIDS Day, World Pancreatic Cancer Day, and National Nurse Practitioner Week.
All right, thank you. So we do have some public hearings tonight. Tonight we're holding quasi-judicial hearings on the following cases: Ordinance 24, 2019, Rustic Lakes rezoning; Ordinance 25, 2019, Bay Hill Commons rezoning; Ordinance 26, 2019, the southeast corner of the intersection of North Lake Boulevard and 112th Terrace North rezoning. This means that the City Council is required by law to base its decision on the evidence contained in the record of this proceeding, which consists of the testimony at the hearing, the materials which are in the official city file on this application, and any documents presented during this hearing. The council is also required by law to allow cross-examination of any witnesses who testified tonight. Cross-examination may occur after the staff, the applicant, and other participants have made their presentations and will be permitted in the order of the witness's appearance. It is necessary that anyone who testifies at the hearing remain until the conclusion of the hearing in order to be able to respond to any questions. If you plan to testify this evening or wish to offer written comments, please fill out a card and give it to the city clerk. The city clerk will now swear in all persons who intend to offer testimony this evening on any of these cases.
Do you solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Thank you. First, Ordinance 21, 2019, first reading. Can the clerk read the title?
Ordinance 21, 2019, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Palm Beach Gardens, Florida, adopting a text amendment to its comprehensive development plan in accordance with the mandates set forth in Chapter 163 Florida statutes, specifically Section 163.3184 et sequentes Florida statutes, pursuant to application number CPTA-19-08-000035, that provides for an amendment to the future land use element to provide updates to certain tabular data, nomenclature, and other amendments that assign newly created zoning districts to the appropriate future land use designation, providing for compliance with all requirements of Chapter 163 Florida statutes, providing for transmittal to the Florida Department of Economic Opportunity, DEO, providing a conflicts clause, a severability clause, and authority to codify, providing an effective date and for other purposes. Note to the public, there is a sign-in sheet at the front table for anyone wanting additional information from the Department of Economic Opportunity.
Thank you. Well, I'm going to open the open the hearing as our staff presentation, and I think you're just going to run through a number of these ordinances at the same time. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
For the record, Martin Fitz, Planning and Zoning, and this is a combined ordinances dealing with the agricultural residential and agricultural estate text amendments to the comprehensive plan and the land development regulations, and also the Rustic Lakes land use and zoning petitions. As I mentioned, there are 8 ordinances, and we will need a separate action on each ordinance separately. The presentation is set up in 2 parts. The first will go over the text amendments and the comprehensive plan and the LDRs, and then the second part will be the land use and zoning for the Rustic Lakes community. These are city-initiated petitions. that are to amend the comprehensive plan and the LDRs to establish the agricultural residential and agricultural estates zoning districts, and also to assign those to the, to be consistent with the rural residential future land use in the comprehensive plan. Just a brief background on what brought us to this point. Last year, the City Council approved Ordinance 24, 2017, approving the annexation of the Rustic Lakes and Bay Hill community and putting the measure on a referendum for the voters. That referendum was held on March 13th, and the annexation was approved by a majority of the voters. And as you may recall, state statute requires communities to assign a local land use and zoning designation to properties after annexation, now that they're within our jurisdiction. This past summer, we did the land use and zoning petitions for the Bay Hill and the Preserve at Bay Hill communities. The Rustic Lakes took a little bit longer because Rustic Lakes has permitted uses that are not from the county that are not currently permitted within the city. So we had to go through and do an analysis and are proposing to create 2 new zoning districts in order to recognize the and allow the residents to maintain the existing legal uses and structures within the community. Both before and after the annexation, staff has met with residents in the community through town hall meetings and individual meetings, and most recently at the with 2 meetings at the Sand Hill Crane Golf Course to discuss the proposed zoning and the code compliance issues that were raised at the previous meeting. In addition to this, we've answered numerous phone calls and emails from the residents to address questions and concerns about the proposed zoning. Staff has been consistent in our communication with the residents that our approach has always been to honor the existing approvals and the permitted uses that they have through the county, no more and no less. So what they can do in the county, they would be able to do in the city. Just to familiarize you with the neighborhood, Rustic Lakes has about 66 parcels that are within the county's agricultural residential zoning district. They range in size from 2 acres up to over 10 acres, but the majority of the parcels are around 5 acres. There are, however, 5 parcels on the southern portion of the community that have the Palm Beach County residential estate zoning district. These are 4 of those are 2.5 acres and 1 is just over 10 acres. Over the past 2 years, staff has compared the county's Unified Land Development Code and with our land development regulations to identify the areas that we need to address where things in the county are different from within the city. We did site visits and basically, and we also coordinated with other departments to see what elements of our code we need to make some sort of tweaks to. And as a result, we've come up with the 2 new zoning districts for the ag residential and ag estates. Consistent with our approach with the residents, we are assigning setbacks for the districts that are the same that they had within the county, so that all of their structures will remain conforming as they are today. We also had to, because we are adding agricultural uses to our code, we had to actually define agricultural uses because our code didn't have a good definition for that. And so we've taken the county's definition and brought that over into our code so that the residents will be operating under the same codes that they have currently. We also had to identify and provide a definition for bona fide agriculture. Bona fide agriculture is defined by the state statute as the good faith commercial agricultural use of property. And this is something that's determined by the property appraiser. It's not something that the city is involved with in determining. But we had to define this within our code because some of the code requirements that we have specifically are tied to bona fide agricultural uses. We also defined domestic livestock, and these pictures are examples of the types of domestic livestock that is permitted within the county. We have pigs, goats, sheep, cows, and of course the lovely alpaca and llamas. So, when we were comparing the codes, there are a number of uses that are permitted within the county that are not contained anywhere within our code. So we're adding new uses to our code along with the parking rates. And you'll notice that some of them have a major conditional use. We have also brought in the same level of approval that they had in the county. For example, the bed and breakfast requires a Board of County Commissioners approval as a Class A conditional use. Within the city, it'll also require City Council approval as a major conditional use. So it'll have the same approval process. The county also allows certain residential accessory uses, such as the accessory quarters and guest cottage. These will be added into the code as permitted within the AR and AE zoning districts. We also had to make a number of supplementary code changes. For example, barbed wire and electrified fencing. Both of these are permitted within the county when part of a bona fide agricultural use. So right now, barbed wire is only permitted in the city as part of industrial uses. And electrified fencing is not permitted in the city at all. So we'll be adding these uses. In addition to bona fide agriculture, there are other criteria that they have to meet in order to use these within the city. We also made changes to the maintenance and appearance standards. The Rustic Lakes community is rustic by design, and so they have certain characteristics that are not currently permitted within the city because of the rustic nature, such as the split rail fence and stacked stone walls. So we're making changes to allow for a rural character. Even though they're rural in nature, they still have to be maintained in good character and good quality, so they can't be falling down, have holes, things like that. There are a few items that were contained within our code that have slight differences with how they're handled within the county. For example, home occupations. Within the city, only residents of the home are allowed to work as employees for the home occupation. Whereas in the county, they're allowed one additional non-resident employee. So within these districts, they will be allowed to have the one additional non-resident employee. And just to note, we have already had someone come in for a business tax receipt that does have the one additional non-resident employee. Accessory structures within the county, the ag residential has a 25-foot side and rear setback, and the ag estates or the residential estate has a 5-foot, so we'll be recognizing those within these districts. Also within the county, fences are allowed to be in the front setback, whereas in the city we don't currently permit that. However, because of the rural nature and with the agricultural uses, quite often they will need to have a fence in the front yard so that the goats don't wander down the street. So within these districts, they will be allowed to have the fence in the front yard. However, they can only be 4 feet within that front setback area. And also the residential or recreational vehicles, the county has different standards for the number and screening. And so within these districts, they will have the same standards applied. Because we're adding new uses, we of course have to add new definitions so we know what we're doing. And since we have created new zoning districts, we also have to, the zoning districts have to be consistent with the land use. So we're proposing a comprehensive plan text amendment to assign the ag residential and ag estates to be consistent with the rural residential land use and also assign the densities. So for the second part, these are the primarily administrative petitions to assign the land use and zoning to the appropriate land use and zoning to these parcels following the annexation. So just so that we know where we're looking at, the Rustic Lakes community is approximately 1 mile east of Coconut Boulevard on the south side of North Lake between Bay Hill and Ibis and directly across the street from the city's golf course. The parcels currently have the residential portion has a land use in the county of rural residential with 1 dwelling unit per 5 acres. There are 2 commercial projects on on either side of 112th Terrace North, just south of North Lake. Both of those will have currently have a county commercial low and commercial low office with an underlying rural residential one dwelling unit per 5 acres. We're proposing to assign a city rural residential to the residential portions of the properties and a city commercial for the two commercial projects along North Lake. For the zoning, we are proposing for the 66 parcels that had the Palm Beach County Ag Residential to be assigned a city Ag Residential, and for the 5 parcels that currently have the residential estate, they would be assigned the agricultural estates zoning district. On the southwest corner of the intersection of North Lake Boulevard and 112th Terrace is the Bay Hill Commons project. This was approved through the county for professional office or medical and dental office use. It is currently assigned a multiple-use plan development zoning designation. The city is proposing a PUD overlay with an underlying professional office. This will allow them to develop with the current approvals from the county. On the southeast corner is the W&W9 property. Again, this one has a multiple-use plan development, and it was also approved for professional office use. So we're proposing a PUD overlay with the underlying professional office as well. And in summary, the land use and the zoning that we're proposing for these parcels has the same densities as permitted within the county and permits the same permitted uses that they currently have. These petitions have been duly noticed, both with ads in the newspaper, mailers, and posting on the property. These were heard before the Planning and Zoning and Appeals Board at the October 15th meeting, and each of the petitions was recommended unanimous approval at that time. And staff is recommending approval of each of ordinances 21 through 28, and staff is available if you have any questions.
Thank you, Martin. I don't have any cards on this from any residents, so we're going to close the public hearing, or close the hearing. Can I get a motion and a second to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Let's bring it back for discussion. Anybody have any questions or comments?
Do we have anybody here from Rustic Lakes? Nobody?
But their cards are for specific. If they put a card in there specific.
Yeah, nobody
No, there's
spoke
no
on it.
Anybody else have any questions or comments?
No, comment?
Whatever you want. I mean, this is your chance to talk. 421 or whatever the presentation was, Martin, that just presented, so.
I just want to thank y'all for taking the time and the diligence to go through and make sure that everything went as planned and was kept the same, and that you updated other things as well as you were going through there to make sure that we're in compliance, and thank you.
Matthew? And this was a heavy lift, and we know that there was a lot of interaction between the city and Rustic Lakes, and I applaud the city for trying and doing a one-for-one, basically, just mirroring what the county did, so that the people that are in Rustic Lakes didn't lose anything, and that was important to us. And that's, as a city, that's important for us when we get new residents, is that they feel like they're getting a bang for their buck, they're getting value for the services that we're offering, but they're also not losing any of their quiet enjoyment. So thank you very much.
The only comment I have is, speaking to the Rustic Lakes people who will hopefully bring this information back to your community, it did get derailed a little bit, but it was never anybody's intentions on the city's part for it to, the communication to somehow get separated to the point that we went down the road that we never went down the road. The council's been paying attention to this the entire time, and it's important that we got it right for you guys from the very beginning. So we want to make sure your quality of life remains what you guys wanted it to be out there, and we welcome you to the city of Palm Beach Gardens, and I hope we got this right on your all's behalf, because our intent from the very get-go was for everything to remain the same from the very beginning. So this one took a little bit more work because of the hiccups along the way, but I think we got it right, and hope you guys can carry that information back, that the city council cares. We know the city cares, and hopefully you're where you want to be. Thanks.
Yeah, there was a lot of outreach from staff going to their communities, the Gulf Sand Hill Crane, here at the City Hall, to make sure that their questions and comments were listened to. And I tried to read all that stuff. My eyes were crossing when I was trying. Kudos to you guys, and thank you for paying attention to the details. But the fact that no one's here obviously makes it easy for us, because we always want to listen to our residents, and no one's here to comment negatively on it, so we're glad to hear that everybody seems happy. So with that, and having no further discussion, going to get a vote?
Mr.
Yes.
Mayor, may I really want to truly recognize the incredible work that Martin Fitz has done on this project. He has spent probably hundreds of hours between the workshops, the conversations with residents, and combing through the county's code, which is a huge code, and just really want to recognize the outstanding work that he's done on all of these ordinances. Thank you.
Yeah, and what are you going to do now with all your free time? All right, no further discussion. Any other comments? All right, so all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Vote passes 5-0. Can the clerk read the title, ordinance 22, 2019?
Ordinance 22, 2019, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Palm Beach Gardens, Florida, amending Chapter 78 Land Development by repealing Section 78-133, RR 1020, Rural Residential Districts, and readopting same as revised, to create the new zoning district, Agricultural Residential, adopting new Section 23.133.1, to create the new zoning district, Agricultural Estate, and by adopting new Section 133.2, to readopt the RR 1020 Rural Residential Districts. Further providing for definitions, uses, development criteria, and related text changes. Further amending Chapter 78 at Table 9, Zoning Districts, to add the AR and AE zoning districts. Further amending Chapter 78 by repealing Section 78-141, Residential Zoning District Regulations, and readopting same as revised, to adopt new development regulations for the AR and AE districts. Further amending Chapter 78 at Section 78-159, Permitted Uses, Minor and Major Conditional Uses, and Prohibited Uses. To amend Table 21 and subsection J, to adopt new development regulations for the AR and AE districts. Further amending Chapter 78 at Section 78-181, Uses, by adopting new subsections C, 7, and 8. Further amending Chapter 78 at Section 78-186, Yards, by repealing subsection B, 7, and readopting same as revised. Further amending Chapter 78 at Section 78-345, number of parking spaces required, by amending Table 33, required off-street parking spaces. Further amending Chapter 78 at Section 78-395, recreational vehicles and watercraft, by repealing subsection A and readopting same as revised. Further amending Chapter 78 at Section 78-751, definitions, by adopting new definitions for accessory quarters, agricultural, bona fide, agricultural light manufacturing, agricultural storage, bed and breakfast, equestrian arena, commercial, estate kitchen, guest cottage, nursery wholesale, stable commercial, and stable private, providing that each and every other section and subsection of Chapter 78 shall remain in full force and effect as previously adopted, providing a conflicts clause, a severability clause, and authority to codify, providing an effective date for other purposes.
Get our glass of water, please. There,
Clerk, can you reread line 47, paragraph 4?
I'm sorry, you're breaking up, sir.
all right, so we're going to close the hearing. Can I get a motion and a second to approve?
I'll make a second.
Thank you. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
5-0. Thank you. Ordinance 27, 2019.
Ordinance 27, 2019, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Palm Beach Gardens, Florida, amending Chapter 34, Environment of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Palm Beach Gardens, Florida, by adopting an entirely new Section 34-62 entitled Bona Fide Agricultural Operations to create an exemption to noise regulations, providing a conflicts clause, a severability clause, and authority to codify, providing an effective date and for other purposes.
Amen.
Thank you. We'll open the hearing. No comment cards. We're going to close the hearing. Get a motion and a second to approve.
I'll make a motion.
All right. No discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
5-0. Thank you. Ordinance 28, 2019, please, Patty.
Ordinance 28, 2019, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Palm Beach Gardens, Florida, amending Chapter 79, Property Maintenance Standards at Section 79-5, Maintenance and Appearance Standards for all real property by repealing subsection A1 and readopting same as revised, providing a conflicts clause, a severability clause, and authority to codify, providing an effective date for other purposes.
I'm going to open the hearing. No presentation, no cards. Close the hearing. Can I get a motion in a second?
Motion.
All right, Rochelle gets in on this one in a second from
Maria.
Maria. No further discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
5-0. Thank you. Ordinance 23, 2019, first reading, please.
Ordinance 23, 2019, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Palm Beach Gardens, Florida, adopting a large-scale amendment to its comprehensive plan, future land use map, in accordance with the mandate set forth in Chapter 163 Florida statutes, specifically Section 163.3184 et sequentes Florida statutes, pursuant to application number CPMA-19-08-000029, in order to change the land use designation on 378.7 acres more or less from Palm Beach County Rural Residential 1 unit per 5 acres RR5 to Palm Beach Gardens Rural Residential RR, and from Palm Beach County Commercial Low Rural Residential 1 unit per 5 acres CLRR5, and Commercial Low Office Rural Residential 1 unit per 5 acres CLORR5 to Palm Beach Gardens Commercial C. Following annexation, the subject property being located on the south side of North Lake Boulevard, approximately 1 mile east of Coconut Boulevard, providing for compliance with all requirements of Chapter 163 Florida statutes, providing for transmittal to the Florida Department of Economic Opportunity, DEO, and other reviewing agencies, providing the future land use map of the City of Palm Beach Gardens be amended accordingly, providing a conflicts clause, a severability clause, and authority to codify, providing an effective date and for other purposes. Note to the public, there is a sign-in sheet at the front table for anyone wanting additional information from the Department of Economic Opportunity.
Thank you. We'll open the hearing. Same, no presentation, no cards, so we'll close the hearing. Can I get a motion in a second?
Motion that we approve the ordinance.
Second.
Thank you. No further discussion. Vote. All in favor? Aye. Thank you. 5-0. Ordinance 24, 2019, please, Patty.
Ordinance 24, 2019, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Palm Beach Gardens, Florida, rezoning certain real property, such property being located on the south side of North Lake Boulevard, approximately 1 mile east of Coconut Boulevard, providing that this parcel of real property, which is more particularly described herein, shall be rezoned from Palm Beach County Agricultural Residential AR to Palm Beach Gardens Agricultural Residential AR, for 337.95 acres more or less, and from Palm Beach County Residential Estate RE to Palm Beach Gardens Agricultural Estate AE for 20.15 acres more or less, providing that the zoning map of the City of Palm Beach Gardens be amended accordingly, providing a conflicts clause, a severability clause, and authority to codify, providing an effective date for other purposes.
Thank you. We'll open the hearing. Is there any ex partes? No ex partes. Thank you. We're not going to have a staff presentation. There's no cards. So we'll close the hearing. Any discussion? Make a motion to approve.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second. All in favor? Aye. 5-0. Thank you. And ordinance 25, 2019.
Ordinance 25, 2019, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Palm Beach Gardens, Florida, rezoning certain real property, such property being comprised of 9.8 acres in size more or less, and located on the southwest corner of the intersection of North Lake Boulevard and 112th Terrace North, providing that this parcel of real property, is more particularly described herein, shall be rezoned from Palm Beach County Multiple Use Plan Development MUPD to Palm Beach Gardens Plan Unit Development PUD, with an underlying zoning designation of Palm Beach Gardens Professional Office, PO, providing that the zoning map of the City of Palm Beach Gardens be amended accordingly, providing a conflicts clause, a severability clause, and authority to codify, providing an effective date for other purposes.
Thank you. We'll open the hearing. Any ex partes? Thank you. No staff presentation, no cards. We'll close the hearing. Any discussion? Can I get a motion?
Motion.
All in favor? Aye. 5-0. Thank you. And ordinance 26, 2019.
Ordinance 26, 2019, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Palm Beach Gardens, Florida, rezoning certain real property, such property being comprised of 10.8 acres in size, more or less, and located on the southeast corner of the intersection of North Lake Boulevard and 112 Terrace North, providing that this parcel of real property, which is more particularly described herein, shall be rezoned from Palm Beach County Multiple Use Plan Development, MUPD, to Palm Beach Gardens Plan Unit Development, PUD, with an underlining zoning designation of Palm Beach Gardens Professional Office, PO, providing that the zoning map of the City of Palm Beach Gardens be amended accordingly, providing a conflicts clause, a severability clause, and authority to codify, providing an effective date and for other purposes.
Thank you, Patty. Are you done?
All about Patty.
Feeling good? All right, we're going to open.
To read that well is incredible.
Shut up. Open the hearing. There's no presentations, there's no cards, no ex partes, I assume, on ordinance 26. Thank you. We'll close the hearing. Back for discussion. Make a motion, please.
Motion?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Can I just say one thing?
Wait. Yes.
I just want to say to you folks here from Shady Lake, from Rustic Lake, sorry, we do appreciate your being here tonight, and we may seem informal about what we're doing, we did take all of this seriously. Martin did a phenomenal presentation to really go over all of the points that were important to you and important to us. So though we may seem like we're jovial and not taking this seriously, we really do take it seriously. But we do know that there's a lot of reading from our city clerk and a lot of work that has already gone into it.
This is months of work, so we're so ingrained in it, it's nice to put the gavel on it and, and be over with it.
And
Put it in the books.
And at the end of the day, we're here for our residents, and the fact that you're here is great. The fact that there was no cards, there was no comments, there was no concerns means our staff was obviously out talking to all of you well in advance of this, and that's exactly the way it's supposed to happen. I made a little joke here just now that we hope no one shows up on second reading, because before all of this is when all the discussion was meant to be had, and I think that was well noted. So thanks for being here. Welcome to the city again. We're not quite there yet. You got a second reading to go through whenever the state brings it back to us, but we will be happy to continue what we do. So with that, we are now. It's 8:08. This is probably the earliest, shortest meeting we've had. If there's any time that we want to talk about anything, I know we sometimes do, we don't usually because the meetings are a little bit longer. Does anybody have anything they want to bring up? There's a couple things. Well, let me just start. I did get a written notice, and it was in all of our mail packets from the ADL, the Defamation League, in an effort to recognize Patricia Lebo for the 2019 ADL Palm Beach Jurisprudence Award. They were asking for a letter from the mayor's office to congratulate her. Does anybody have any comments one way or the other in reference to Patricia's award?
She's an exceptional attorney, highly respected in the bar, and she's a very community leader, and she's very deserving of this award.
She lives in West Palm Beach.
Normally, I would attend this event, but I will be out of town, so I will not.
Well, I'm happy to write a letter. I think it's wonderful that we were asked to do so. I've heard a lot of good things about Patricia, and I don't know her personally, but I'm sure so all of you, many of you know her. Matthew, thanks for the words. That obviously makes us feel better. So, yes, we will go ahead and...
So by consensus, we'll go ahead and prepare a letter for your signature.
Thank you. Any other comments? Anybody else want to bring anything up?
If you all want a little bit of humor, I will be in Connecticut next week. It will be snowing next Wednesday night when I receive the Old Timers Athletic Award from my hometown of Norwalk, Connecticut. And I said, how unfortunate. I don't think I'm old, but I'm just happy that the Athletic Association from my hometown is recognizing me. And I'm going to start by saying, do you guys think you could rename this Hometown Heroes or something?
Or why don't they do it in June?
Yeah, when there's no snow.
Yeah.
But
Well,
congratulations,
congratulations to you, Maria. You always beat us on the Beat the Pro, and you're well deserving. And it's nice that your hometown is recognizing you. So congratulations. Rochelle, do you have anything you want to bring up? I don't know. I mean, do you,
You don't worry about it.
so I brought my cup today, my reusable cup, and yeah, it's my 60th birthday, 60th anniversary from the city. One of the things that we get, and one of the things that we got being out at the Green Market, is a lot of people ask questions about what can we do about X, Y, and Z, namely single-use plastics and straws. And I know that we are a city, we cannot enforce without state approval, and really there's not much we can do as a city. When we first came on council, we did have a couple of resolutions that we passed that I thought were good to pass, to bring up. These are social issues. Sometimes they are things that we don't necessarily enforce, but I think the more cities that get involved and get engaged with what our residents and what our people in our region really feel, I think is important, and I think the city should be taking some type of role. We've all been on this council long enough. We all hear the same stories. Single-use plastics is something that we're hearing continuously. I would like to see if we can maybe look at some type of resolution that some other cities have enacted that we can incorporate into a future council meeting if you all are engaged and thoughtful in that. And I would challenge all of you to bring your own cups so we don't have to use the bottled waters. I know restaurants and some of the hotels, they don't use straws, or some of them will only offer it if you ask, and many of them are using paper straws. I mean, these are little things. I know we're not changing the world in the city of Palm Beach Gardens, but I think we need to be open to our residents and to the concerns of our region and our planet. So I would like to see us direct the city attorney and the city manager if they could try to do a little bit of research in finding some resolutions. And we've been forwarded some from some of our residents already, and I'd be happy to pass them along.
And to that, I'll add, as chair of the Sustainability Committee for Palm Beach North Chamber, now that the chamber has new leadership, we're moving ahead with some sustainability initiatives through the chamber that will reach out to the businesses directly and encourage them to do things on their own as well. And there will be an award ceremony for cities and businesses and organizations when they demonstrate what it is that they've done and what their ideas are. So I'll be able to bring more forward on that as we go forward.
We want to wait for your committee to come up with its recommendations before we pursue a resolution, or do you want to just go ahead and start the process?
We can pursue a resolution. The governor vetoed the straw ban, so that is one that is able to be passed if it is something that we want to do. That one has been vetoed. He has not removed styrofoam and plastic bags from that. What I have a hard time dealing with I was up in Boston, the CVSs everywhere have bags made from recycled plastic. Publix doesn't give plastic bags in other locations, so there's things that we can do, whether it's encourage letter writing campaigns to the companies that do this. So the Sustainability Committee will make recommendations too on how we can push the companies themselves to do stuff as well.
So do you want to wait until we see those recommendations before we ask for a resolution? Because it might be good to put some of that language in our cities.
We can do that. We're working on it now. Chelsea and I are working on it now. She's my co-chair.
Thank you. Comments?
Well, I was going to say, if we're looking to nominate anybody for the awards, I think we should nominate the City of Palm Beach Gardens, which is over 50% in green space.
Yeah, but we can always do better. Not with green space, but with ways of being more sustainable. But you're right. Hey, Carl, you got anything?
Well, we don't border the ocean. We're not Juno Beach. We're not Jupiter. But, and so I'm in the middle of it, so I keep my ears open. I did talk to Ron about this probably about a year ago or more. But maybe it should be more of the corridor, the communication between the businesses up and down the corridor maybe should be a corridor initiative, because if the corridor was going to do something up and down PGA, that voice may be, a little more, other than us just coming up with a directive, when I haven't seen a push for our community to ban plastics. But if the corridor was to be a voice for the business district and the restaurant district, maybe that's a softer approach to, an educated sort of a thing other than us putting a pin on it.
Most of the corridor members are members of the chamber, so having one of them on the committee is something that we can definitely look into, and that way, that business section would go straight through them.
So maybe we wait to see what your committee comes up with. Maybe we have conversations with the PJ
I
Corridor
think that's
Association. and
probably
their
a good
members and
idea at
See if we
this
can put
point.
something together that would encourage the lessening use of single-use plastics.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea at this point.
You know, on that same vein too, it might be worthwhile to have somebody come from Waste Management and from Solid Waste Authority to actually talk about how all of this stuff gets taken care of, especially in restaurants. I mean, if someone gets a straw in a restaurant, that really doesn't make any difference because that just goes in the trash with everything else and gets burned. So it's not like that straw is appearing anyplace else. So it may behoove us to, before we put the cart before the horse, really hear what the process is.
Agreed.
All right, so we'll table this till the next meeting. I just wanted people to start thinking about it. And actually, I'll probably just wait to see what your committee starts with, and then we can talk to the Corridor Association in the meantime. I didn't mean to bog everyone down and keep everyone here all the way until 8:17 on a Thursday night.
But it's
but-
the only way we
just-
can talk
hold on.
about something.
Yeah.
Clarifications, I'm hearing a lot of things here, but the consensus of this group, this body, is to wait until the Sustainability Committee from the Chamber of Commerce comes out with their positions on whatever issues environmentally that they're looking at before we do anything.
I think
Is that the
that's- I
consensus
think
of
that's-
everyone here?
I think that's proper, yes.
Okay, I just want to be sure of what my direction is. I'd like to be clear.
That's that, and then there'll also be some discussion with the PJ Corridor Association as part of the
Who's
discussion.
doing this discussion and when is this occurring?
Well, we're
We'll
going
do it through the chamber and the committee.
I'm sorry?
We can do it through the chamber and the committee and then
But
bring
not-
it back, but not the
not
city.
me.
No.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Anybody else have any other comments? All right. Well, with that, we will adjourn. Thank you.